Welcome back to 65 Drums. My name's Justin. The electronic drum market is kind of like an iceberg. At the very top, you've got the three brands everybody and their grandmother has heard of. If you go a step down, you got some secondary, smaller brands that are very popular in the electronic drum community. But that's still just the visible part of the electronic drum iceberg. If you go beneath the waves, there's an ocean of Chinese electronic drum set brands that most people have never heard of. And let me tell you, these companies are trying everything. From putting speakers inside of kick drums to LED-powered drum sets, you want a purple drum rack? They got you covered. Massive double bass drum sets, and most importantly, the electronic drum t-shirt. Now, right off the bat, before we jump ahead, I want to warn you that this video is more for entertainment purposes. You will learn some stuff, but it's not going to be forbidden electronic drum knowledge that will help you save all kinds of money by buying the Hong Kong Becky B27. Oh, you thought that was a fake name? No, that's a real drum set. In some of these cases, I've actually played these drum sets in real life and spoken to people at the company. And then in other cases, I literally just found them on Open China Cart and Alibaba. Okay, so the first company on the E-Drum Iceberg is Sudoku. From what I can tell, they're based out of Malaysia. Now, on the low end, they make stuff similar to like the Alesis Surge. But as you go up in price, things get intense pretty quick. I have never seen a stock drum set with that many cymbals in my entire life. I would bet money they have to include multiple drum modules in the package in order to handle all those components. Stepping up to their higher end drum sets, we've got the Sudoku Lexus Extreme 14 Pro. It appears they can offer it with a selection of different drum modules, but all the playing footage that I see from them doesn't really demonstrate the built-in sounds. They're mostly using drum plugins. They also sell conversion style drum sets like this Sudoku Hybrid electronic drum set that they offer. Trying to take a look at these cymbals, it's hard to say exactly who made them, because I don't think Sudoku is actually making all of their components. I don't think that whoever made this snare also made these pads over here and then these drums over here. I could be wrong though. The second company that I want to cover is Aroma. This is one of those electronic drum brands from Asia, which I actually have had a chance to play. Unfortunately, I am not a big fan. Here we have a breakdown of the different ones they offer. We got the TDX 15, 15S, 16, 16S, 25S, and 30S. So yeah, not really a big fan of this brand, especially because they decided to go with the inner plastic rims. When you're copying Roland, copy what they're doing good and not what they're doing badly. Okay, so the next brand I want to cover is yet another Chinese brand that did make it to NAMM once, EDS. And since I've gotten a chance to see this in person, I gotta tell you, this is not that impressive of a company either. So they make some metallic looking plastic cymbals and kind of looks cool at a distance, but when you see it in real life, you're like, yeah, this isn't really as high quality as I would hope. Again, Alibaba is a company that allows you to buy stuff from the supplier in order to sell it in your music store. So it's assumed that you'll buy them in bulk and then price them a little bit higher to make a profit for yourself. Okay, so now let's move ahead a little bit more in a positive direction by covering HXM. I've also played this brand as well because they did make it to NAMM. HXM is one of those mystery Chinese companies that secretly makes some of the Alesis drum sets and Millennium drum sets that you may have played over the years. There's two things that make HXM interesting. The first is the fact that they make very large electronic drum sets for low prices, and the second is that they're pushing the fact that they can offer drums with speakers built into the kick drum. That was their old flagship though. Their new flagship is the XD2000KM. If you go to their official website, they give you a little bit more information in this paragraph if you want to pause it and read all about that. Apparently they've gotten rid of the speaker system inside of the kick drum because they don't really mention it, at least on their official website. This looks a lot like what is probably the exact same thing, the Millennium MPS 1000 drum set. Alright, so the next brand I want to cover is Jinboa. Or Jinbo. I don't know how to say this name. I'm probably going to mispronounce a bunch of the brands. It's unfortunately my lot as an American to not know how to pronounce things correctly. Now, I've actually played this brand before because they have made it to NAMM when I was there, and I played maybe the same drum set or possibly a previous iteration of the same drum set. Apparently, this has a rubber pad inside of each one of those drums. You actually turn a drum key in the side of the shell, and it raises this rubber pad until it presses it against the underside of the acoustic drum head. The kit I played didn't have an angry panda with tiny sunglasses on his nose. They make cool stuff. It's a cool concept. But overall, it's just something you'd want to play at a friend's house or at a convention center, but not something that I would recommend dropping $3,600 on buying yourself. So the next company that I want to cover is this one right here. And you may notice I'm not trying to pronounce the name of this company, because last time I did that was when I actually saw these in real life at NAMM. So there I was taking a look at these different electronic drums that I've never heard of before. At that same time, there was a Japanese gentleman who wasn't affiliated with this company, and he was there looking at the drums as well. I wanted to learn how to say the name of this company, so I went over to the lady that was running the booth and asked, how do I pronounce the name of this brand? The Japanese guy starts laughing, and then she told me how to pronounce the name of the company. I said it back. He starts laughing even harder. She tells me how to say it again. I try to pronounce it again. Japanese guy standing next to me starts laughing even harder. I will say that I'm happy that I brought home the brochure to this company because reading this brings joy to my heart. 6 layers are layered. High-pitched cymbals, tinkling cymbals, stepping cymbal pedals, military drums, high-pitched cymbals and tinkling cymbals, sup, port, grasping cymbals, and stopping sounds. Okay, so the next company I want to cover on the electronic drum iceberg is Lemon. Now the thing is, this brand suddenly became known to most electronic drum nerds starting like 2 years ago. All of a sudden, everybody on the Facebook group suddenly realized they could buy a whole set of Lemon cymbals for not that much money off of websites like AliExpress. They would get a lot of very large cymbals and they would hardly cost anything. Now it's even easier to buy them because if you go on Amazon, you can buy an 18-inch Lemon ride cymbal that's 3 zones for about $136. That is a really cheap price for a cymbal this large. The thing to keep in mind about Lemon though is that the rubber that they're using is not as high quality as ATV, F-Note, or Roland style rubber. So it's not as high end, it may not last as long. I've seen one photo of a guy just completely shredded the rim of his Lemon ride cymbal or crash cymbal, whatever. But my 2 Lemon cymbals that I've got, they're still working just fine. I've had them for quite a while, so I'm pretty happy with them. The only downside is that I've had to remove an internal cable and plug it into a different socket because out of the box, they were wired like completely opposite of how they need to work with a Roland drum module. The weird thing about Lemon though is that while a lot of people in Western audiences like North America and Europe, we all know about Lemon cymbals, but almost none of us have played a full-on Lemon drum set, me included. I gotta say, that video does not inspire very much confidence. Their drum module sounds as cheap as it looks. Now let's move ahead to the next brand we'll be covering on the electronic drum iceberg. How am I gonna pronounce this name?
This is how the robot pronounces a sonasi.
I'll just go with that. Looking at the photo of their internals, it looks like they've got a standard side-mounted trigger on the inside of their drum. I guess they have some sort of like Guitar Hero, Rock Band sort of program or app so you can play to songs, I'm guessing, and get a score. Okay, so the next company on the electronic drum iceberg we'll be looking at is Headphone, or however you pronounce it. One thing I've noticed about a lot of these Chinese electronic drum companies, these companies start off as keyboard companies, and then they make electronic drums as an add-on to their overall lineup. I have never seen a purple drum rack before, but here it is. Here it is in this blue to black fade. I actually kind of like the look of that. Here it is in this cool silver. They've got it in this yellow to orange fade, and it comes in gold. Unfortunately, this is the best and only video I could find on this drum set over the entire internet. On the surface, they kind of look like they're mesh, but if you look at the tension rods and the lugs, they're only pointing downward. On Alibaba, the drum head material is listed as the silicone. Their official website listing for their drum set line, it shows that they have 3 different variants, leaves a lot to be desired. All they have is a bunch of text and a couple of crappy photos, and that's about it. Okay, so the next brand that I kind of have to bring up when talking about the electronic drum iceberg is Medley. They're like a competitor to HXM. They're a giant electronic drum company that secretly make a lot of the electronic drum sets you've probably already played. But Medeli also makes their own stuff as well under their own branding or sub-branding. So for example, Medeli makes stuff under the Magic Shark or Musa branding. And that drum module kind of reminds me of different stuff that I've played or seen from D-Drum over the years. Another drum set that they promoted for a while, and then it's quietly slipped off the radar, is E-Drum. It's still from Medeli. This was an experimental drum set they dreamed up like 4 years ago, and the whole idea behind it was that they would make the drum module a part of the drum rack, and all the drum pads would also plug into the drum rack. As you can tell, the drum rack is really fat right around here in the center 3 posts. That's because you're plugging the pads and the cymbals directly into the drum rack via like 1-foot cables. Overall, it's kind of an interesting idea, but I can understand why they eventually dropped it. Next up, we have XM. They offer a bunch of different electronic drum series. So for example, they got their Master series, which is their flagship stuff. They've got the Classy series, and then they've got their Custom series, and they've got their Electronic series for kids, and they've also got the Tempo series and the Busker series, which is a little bit more portable. The thing is, a lot of their videos on their YouTube channel, pretty much all of them are kind of old. For example, the last time that I saw a flagship drum demonstration video from them was like, I think 2015. And that was a video that was showcasing something from 2014. But again, I'm just some random guy from the United States. I don't live where this company is more popular. So again, it's hard to tell exactly how successful some of these Asian brands are or aren't. Something else you'll notice if you start looking around China OpenCart and AliExpress is that there's a lot of drum sets that on first glance kind of look like Roland kits. That module is obviously trying to look similar to a TD-17. I even found it on Amazon for the low price of $4,100. But I'm not exactly sure that you'll get this module because they have a second image where there's a completely different module. Next up, we have an electronic drum set that may or may not be legit, I don't really know. According to these Chinese websites, there's a drum set model from Roland called the TD-E1. And it's not just like one website or one listing, it's like a ton of these different listings. And this one appears to be bundling a Roland drum amp that I don't even know if they make this anymore. We also have some fairly official looking stock photos, which may or may not make it legit. Here's this lady playing it, here's this young lad playing it, and here he is playing it again, this time supervised by his mom, I guess, to make sure he doesn't play any wrong notes. I've also seen something similar to this in a different vein from Yamaha, so maybe there's China-specific models of these kits that I'm just not aware of, or maybe they're just cobbled together with different parts because they think they'll sell better. I don't really know. And that's the video. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I really appreciate it. If you want to see these videos before anybody else, consider supporting 65 Drums over on Patreon. Have an awesome day. See you in a few.